We're here in the lovely, lovely Orleans, Mass. I mean, the backdrop, it just speaks for itself. I just drove down. Owen's here on vacation.
What up, what up?
Hope this doesn't blow over. I really hope. This is like the centerpiece right here. I'm so proud of that. But we're here. We're doing a hot takes episode. I sent some out on my story last night and a week before. We got some really good results, so we got all of them right here. And we're just going to jump right into it. So we got Tim Disaster here. I like this one a lot. Once we trade for another starting pitcher, we are putting the whole AL on notice.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we've been running basically a three-man rotation for the last 2-3 weeks. It's been Brian Bayo, James Paxton as like your 1-2, but like outside of that, I mean, we don't really have any other firepower. I think we're doing back-to-back openers, and at some point or another, it's going to come and haunt us. So like we need starting pitching badly, and most reports that I've been seeing is the Red Sox have been targeting a veteran starting pitcher to kind of bolster the rotation, be in the back end. So I mean, I don't know if necessarily putting the AL on notice. I mean, I wouldn't say we're definitely a threat to make the playoffs. I don't know about World Series for this year, but I mean, we definitely have a shot, especially if we can get like a nice starting pitcher where it doesn't have to be an ace. It could be someone where it's like, just can eat up innings. You know what you're going to get from him every fifth day. And I think if we're able to do that, then I mean, I think that puts us in a good spot as we're trying to continue fighting for a playoff spot. And I think as of today, we're what, game and a half or 2.5 games
right now after the loss last night, we're 2.5 out of the wild card. So I'm willing to go on a limb and say I like this a lot. I would agree. I think we've already done that sort of. I think not like nationally as whole American League on notice. I think it's more so just like we're looking at Toronto, Houston, and I think people are more hype about the Yankees than they are the Sox. But I think I'm liking this a lot. You talked about the veteran leadership, guys who can go up and take the ball. I've got two guys I like right here from a team that's not contending whatsoever. Jordan Montgomery of the Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals, 21 starts this year, 3.5 ERA. And Jack Flaherty, again, a guy who's had 20 starts, 4.5 ERA, not the greatest results, but I think a guy who, I mean, he's shown glimpses of it this year. He's had a couple of really bad starts lately that have kind of boosted that ERA, but I think he's a guy that can go out and take the ball, and I think that's something that, we talked about Paul DeYoung, the shortstop from the Cardinals, kind of coming over and maybe, taking some reps at shortstop, second base. I think that could be kind of a package deal for him, another starter that could be really beneficial for a team that really hasn't had much starting pitching help all year, like you said, so.
Yeah, I mean, we're recording this as of July 30th. Obviously, the trade deadline is a little over, 2 days away, a little over 48 hours to go. And I mean, the Red Sox have been linked to Paul DeYoung. But I mean, they obviously need starting pitching. And like you said, Jordan Montgomery was definitely a name I was looking at. Another guy that I was looking at as well from the Chicago White Sox was Dylan Cease. Mm-hmm. Not having the best year as of right now, but I mean, he's currently 4-4, 4.15 ERA. I mean, not the best, not the worst, but I mean, he's still very young. He's only 27 years old.
Really good stuff.
Not a free agent until after the 2025 season, so we're getting control, which is something that Chaim has been preaching. They want to go after guys that are not rental players. They want guys that can have control past the 2023 season. And he also kind of fits that mold. And I mean, he's shown glimpses in the past of having that ace-like quality. Last year, he went 14-8, had a 2.20 ERA. So, I mean, he's definitely shown flashes of being a great pitcher, still very young. And at age 27, he's kind of just starting to enter his prime a little bit. So, I mean, if we can get him for the rest of this year, next year as well, and who knows, maybe put up an extension or something like that would be a nice piece to have in that rotation with a Brian Bayo and maybe Paxton if he sticks around after this year.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a huge haul. I mean, a team like Chicago, has been year to year just like this. Could be the team that breaks out. They're for example, like the Marlins, right? Like Marlins are like really young talent, a team that like this year is starting to break out. The White Sox just like haven't done that. I mean, year to year they've, Luis Robert, again, Dylan Cease, Giolito, who's just been traded. Giolito just been traded, so I think they're a team that could potentially be looking to pull on a new haul and just kind of figure something out because right now what they've got is not working. I like that a lot. But yeah, definitely need to put something together. Giolito, again, he was a guy that I was heavy on and wanted to mention, but he just was traded yesterday or the day before. Yeah. So yeah, I really think, again, veteran, big time starter like that. I like that Cease pick a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when will the Red Sox getting a starting pitcher. I mean, obviously, it's been a need for a while. And I mean, it's been made very well known publicly that the Red Sox are targeting veterans starting pitching. So I would say by August 1st, we're going to have another name in the rotation. Who it is, I don't know yet, but in the next 48 hours, we will see a new pitcher in the Red Sox rotation, without a question.
Big time. All right, next hot take here. Nico, man, I know you put this out before the game last night. Aaron Judge came back yesterday. This hot take is Aaron Judge is not going to come back swinging. And then again, I have right here Aaron Judge in his first game back last night. 3 for 5 with a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. So I would have, I mean, if we would have done this yesterday before the game, I would have said, yeah, man, like I agree. But, I mean, Judge is just, as much as I hate to say it, the guy just rakes. Coming back from like a big toe injury, again, a lot of people saying it's a good take. Like, this is an injury that's derailed careers before. Like, that's no joke to come back from. As silly as it sounds, a toe injury. Like, that's a big deal, and he's picking up right where he left off.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because I remember Aaron Judge in an interview, he said, like, I'm not going to be able to come back 100%. Like, based on the injury, based where they are in the season, how much recovery he's had, he's literally come out and said that he's not going to be able to play at 100% this year. But, I mean, that being said, Aaron Judge at 80% is still one of the best players in baseball.
Yes.
So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, he came back with a home run. I mean, obviously, it's been only one game so far as of today, recording this. But, I mean, I think time will tell. I mean, I'm not going to say, like, he's definitely not going to be, like, an MVP candidate. But, I mean, I'm sure where with the Yankees are, like, I'm sure having Aaron Judge back in the lineup, especially, like, leading most of the offensive categories for the Yankees up until that injury, like, they needed his bat badly in that lineup, and getting it back is going to be a huge boost for them kind of going forward as the second half plays out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And we'll talk about the Yankees. We have another one later about the Yankees, but we've seen it everywhere. The Yankees without Aaron Judge, one of the worst teams in the league. So, I mean, having him back is huge, especially where they're at right now, a game back of the Sox for not the wild card spot, but for getting out of last place in the East. So that's going to be a big deal, definitely, if they can get some production for him going forward. Regardless of whether he hits, it's just like him in right field is, again, like you said, at 80%, him in right field is better than a lot of right fielders in baseball defensively. So that's definitely huge for the Yankees to get him back.
100%. Yeah, like Aaron Judge leads that Yankee lineup without question. Like, it runs through him, and if he's not there, they're not going to do well. We've seen that over the last few months, them kind of floundering, kind of making their way from like first or second place in the AL East all the way down to last place as of today. So, I mean, they really needed his bat, and I mean, that could definitely, especially with how competitive the AL East is this year, like having him back, that's only going to make it even more competitive as the next 2 months play out. I mean, all 5 teams are in contention for a playoff spot. Only a potential 4 can make it. Obviously, you got teams like the Houston Astros and the Angels that are also competing for a playoff spot as well. But, I mean, that being said, you have all 5 teams in the AL East. There's no other division in baseball that has all 5 teams competing for a playoff spot.
Yeah, that we've seen in the last 10 years, I would say.
Oh, 100%,
and again, like year-to-year competition, I think it's probably the best division that we've seen. Just like so hard to make the playoffs. I mean, look at the Sox right now, 9 games over 500. It's just 8 games over after last night, over 500. It's just like, man, you're looking at the AL Central, and it's like, dude, come on. Like,
that's what makes me so mad.
Yeah,
man.
It's tough. It's tough.
Like, I don't know if, I mean, I know MLB's looking to expand in a few years, maybe add a couple more teams to the league. And I'm curious to see, like, how are they going to do, like, divisions differently? Like, are they going to do, like, different regions? Like, when in the future, like, is the Toronto Blue Jays or are the Tampa Bay Rays going to still be in the AL East? Like, because I've seen rumors about that. Like, they might like try to change up the landscape. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of curious to see. But obviously, we're living with what we have right now. And unfortunately, it's a powerhouse in the AL East.
For the next 5-10 years, probably.
Oh,
with the way these teams are structured, especially Tampa and Baltimore. I think no 2 teams better in the AL set up for success in the next 5-10 years.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that.
Triston Casas will be an all-star next year. 100%. I mean, his numbers this season, again, he had that really bad April. 91 games, 253 batting average, 357 on base, 484 slug, 841 OPS, 16 homers, and 15 doubles. And again, since May 1st, 66 games, I think he's put together an all-star campaign just in that span. 294 batting average, 385 on base, 551 slugging, 936 OPS, 13 homers and 12 doubles. It was really that first month, and ever since then, he's just been legit.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like I said, I mean, like you kind of said, struggled that first month, and then little by little got better and better, and obviously in July, like, he's going to win AL Rookie of the Month, no question. He might win AL Player of the Month after this year. I have a little hot take of my own. Like, I think if Triston Casas can, like, continue swinging the bat the way he is for the rest of the second half, I think him and, obviously, Masa's been a Rookie of the Year candidate for all season long, but I think Triston Casas will finally be able to put his name in that conversation if he could just continue to swing the bat the way he is. And don't forget, too, like, a lot of people going into the season had Casas pinned as the AL Rookie of the Year. Obviously had that slow start in April, but, I mean, he's finally living up to the expectations that, a lot of people set on him when we first drafted him back in 2018 to be this slugging first baseman. So, I mean, I think really if he can continue this for the second half, he might win the Rookie of the Year. And, yeah, without question, is definitely going to be an all-star. If not next year, I would say within the next 2 to 3 years, not next year.
He's really separated himself. I mean, best hitter in baseball over the since the All-Star break. I mean, 1,500 OPS, I believe. Like looking at the numbers last night when they showed it on the Fox broadcast, he's just first in every category. And I think he's kind of separating himself from the Dahlbeck comparisons. I mean, kind of like the two slugging corner infielders coming up through the Red Sox organization. Dahlbeck coming up showing, I mean, he hasn't had the time, obviously, to really prove himself, but I think Casas just, what separates him is just the plate discipline, the approach. Just like, ever since he came up from the minor leagues, just like so poised and controlling the strike zone, it's just really impressive. And I think that's kind of what is like leading this Casas train of like the Red Sox sticking with him, and the patience is really paying off right now. And I think that it comes from that. Obviously, the elite power. I mean, we saw him the home run to center field the other night, like inside fastball. I mean, took it like dead center, like 435 feet. Like that is a bomb the other way on an inside fastball. The ability to just, or again, we've heard it a lot, but like just taking more hacks. Like the on base percentage is there. Since May 1st, it's 385. Like that is more than enough. That is legit from a guy who can hit with a lot of power. And obviously the average there is hitting 300 in that span. So he's legit, I think, on his way to being one of the best power hitting first basemen in all of baseball over the next 2 or 3 years. I think that's realistic, I think, from what we've seen.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, with a lot of power hitters, especially at first base. Obviously they'll have the power, but the thing that kind of their issue is they put up the strikeout numbers. Obviously, Casas is currently at 87 right now. So, I mean, kind of middle of the pack. But, I mean, but that's the thing. It's most sluggers, we kind of look at it, Joey Gallo, for example. It's either a hit, strikeout, or a walk.
Right.
And, I mean, Triston Casas, he has the ability to use all fields. He has great plate discipline. Currently has, 357 on-base percentage. Last season, in only about a 27 game span, had a 358 on-base percentage. And like you said, 385 since the beginning of May. So, I mean...
Take it, man.
Yeah.
That's really good. Really, really good.
And that's really what's separating him as a power hitter compared to other guys. Like, he has the ability to kind of wait for his pitch and not try to be a Deadpool hitter. He has the ability to work gap to gap, foul pole to foul pole. And that's... Not a lot of power guys can do that. They usually will try to go for their power side, whether it's a righty or a lefty.
Yes.
And so I think that's really going to be one of the key separating factors of Triston Casas and his ability to be like a power hitter, and not just be a power hitter, but a guy who can constantly get on base, put himself in scoring position.
Taking his singles, taking his doubles, like you said, like he's doing it all right now from the plate, which is really, really impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's going to be like the separating factor of Triston Casas as being potentially one of the best first basemen, one of the best hitters in the entire league going forward.
100%. We've got a big one here. The Rays will miss the playoffs. So we're looking at the AL wild card race right here. The Rays are only a game and a half back of Baltimore. They're 63-44. They hold the top wild card spot right now by 3 games. The thing that is glaring right now is July. They're 6-16. They've been really bad in July. They got a rubber match against Houston today. And towards the end of the season, they've got 6 games against Toronto. They don't play any against Houston, which might be an issue. And they just lost Zach Eflin, who had 11 wins and a 3.5 ERA. He just went down with a knee injury yesterday. I don't know about this one. I mean, obviously, they're kind of going off that cushion of that really good April where they won 20. I think it was 22-6 they went.
Oh, yeah.
But, July going 6-16 is obviously really, really bad. But they do have, again, one of the deepest teams in baseball, and I don't see them giving that up very easily.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they definitely have some tough opponents coming up. I mean, looking at the schedule for August, they got the Yankees, they got the Guardians.
There we go.
We'll cut that out. Guardians, they got the Guardians coming up. You know, obviously, and not one of the better teams, but you know, could definitely in that fight for the AL Central. Angels, another potential playoff team as well, and obviously all the opponents in the AL East. You know, Boston, Toronto, Baltimore, and New York. So I mean, they definitely have a lot of teams that are over 500 that they're going to have to face. But that being said, they've put themselves in a good cushion at this point in the season where they could go on a skid, and I think that they could still make the playoffs where they're at. And, you know, they still have plenty of moves to make. You know, the trade deadline's still in effect right now, and who knows, maybe they make a couple moves on the offensive side or the pitching side to kind of bolster that team, bolster kind of that depth that they have, and, you know, kind of maybe that's what they need to kind of, you know, kind of get out of this slump a little bit and kind of just put gas on the pedal going forward. So.
Yeah, I mean, Houston and Toronto obviously having really good seasons, both at 59 and 46, 3 games back of Tampa Bay, and their records in July are very similar. Houston's 14 and 9, Toronto's 14 and 8. So, again, I do understand it. Like there's eight games of separation they've gained with the Rays in the stretch in July. I think if the Rays get off to a bad start in August with a rough couple of weeks, I do see it. I mean, obviously Astros and Blue Jays are hot. Like if they can gain another 4 or 5 games and the Rays start to sink, I can definitely see it, especially with the Red Sox and how they've been playing. But I don't know, man. The Rays are still really good. I still am a big believer in them. Obviously, like I said, one of the deepest teams in baseball, and they have been for the last 2 or 3 years. They just know how to win. So I don't know. That definitely is a hot take, but I could see something happening in this next couple weeks here. Again, they have 6 games against Toronto coming up, so I mean we'll see. But I don't know. It's a very hot take.
I was gonna say too, like I think the 3 teams that I kept seeing in the AL that I think are like without question gonna make the playoffs are probably the Baltimore Orioles, the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Texas Rangers. Like those were like the 3 teams that I look at, and it's like they're gonna make the playoffs.
Right.
Like I don't think there's ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I think it's gonna happen, and I think all those other teams like. Everyone else in the AL East, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Red Sox,
Boston, yeah.
Obviously the AL Central not being a strong division. You got the Guardians and the Twins kind of fighting for that first place spot to get in the playoffs. And then the Houston Astros, I don't really see the Angels making it. Obviously they are, I think they're 3 or 4 games back right now, but I think the Houston Astros are the only other team that I could see really making a fight for the playoff spot. But I think it's really just those 4 to 6 teams that are kind of like in that bubble to kind of fight for a playoff spot going forward.
And looking at the Rays, dude, they're still a game and a half back of Baltimore.
Yeah, like they could still win the division.
Right, and if they win, that would have been big if we lost that.
Oh my god.
in the water back there.
Oh my, imagine.
Yeah, like a game and a half back of Baltimore, like the flip side of it too is like Rays get hot, Baltimore cools off, and they're back in first place, and we're not talking about that anymore because they're going to win the division. So again, a lot of moving parts there. I think a lot of stuff has to happen for us to think about the Rays may not make it, but I could see it happening for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
The Yankees are better than the Red Sox. So this is again a product of me having a Yankees fan as a girlfriend. You know, the struggle is real. I got some numbers right here. The Yankees right now, game back of Boston. They just got Judge back, so that is the big one. That is, you know, we could see them making a run potentially. Red Sox are 5-1 against them this season. So, I mean, if we look at the record this year, who's the better team? That's all I'm going to say. I think it's the Red Sox. They just swept them. So, and again, they match up 7 more times this season. They play in New York at the end of August and at Boston, Fenway Park, baby, in September. We're going to try and make a trip out there for that.
Oh yeah.
Maybe make some content there. That'd be huge. That's going to be a big series, I think, with Judge back and the Yankees kind of making a run for it.
Yeah, and I mean too. I think also too. You know, I mean the Yankees. The Yankees, you know, throughout the season, I think they've had a lot of kind of question marks throughout their season, especially with the pitching. You know, they've kind of gone through some injuries. Obviously, they got Carlos Rodon back, but I mean, he's still not at 100% yet, and he probably might not get back to that ace status that we saw when he was with San Francisco the last year. Yeah,
not guaranteed.
Yeah, still question mark. I think really it's like outside of Garrett Cole, like there's a lot of question marks with that starting pitching. The offense, you know, the guys like Stanton. Like, he was supposed to be a power bat. He's one of the worst hitters. Yeah. He did hit a homer yesterday. But still, batting under the Mendoza line. Yeah, batting under the Mendoza line, one of the worst hitters in baseball this entire year. I mean, they still have a lot of question, like, Volpe. Like, people thought he was going to come out swinging. Also, one of the worst hitters in baseball. And I think if you look at the Reds, I'm not saying the Red Sox they have a better lineup than the Yankees. And, like, if you look at it, like, I mean, Triston Casas, like we said, hottest hitter in baseball since the All-Star break. Justin Turner. in clutch situations. Like, he knows when to come up
One of the
big.
best.
Like, whether it's get a single, get a double, hit a home run, or make a play. Like, Justin Turner knows how to be clutch in those situations.
Big Justin Turner video coming out. So
Oh,
I got
I'm
a full
excited
length
for
video
that.
coming out. So.
Excited for that. But I mean, like, if you look at it, like, the Red Sox, we know the pitching has been the issue. Obviously, the bullpen has been great. I think it was Chris Martin gave up a home run, and I think it was like the first time in like 55 in the third innings that the Red Sox bullpen gave up a home
Martin's
run.
under a well under a 2 ERA and 30+ appearances. Like he's legit. Like he's really good still.
Exactly. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, when the starting pitching like gets set with the trade deadline, like look out. Like that's literally the only issue I could see the Red Sox having. Like the offense is coming together. And and the bullpen's been lights out for the past few weeks. It's really just that starting pitching. I feel like when we get that kind of figured out, like we go from there.
And
like,
I think even then, like we've seen the big knock on the offense when we were kind of struggling 70, 80 games in was like the consistency factor. Like we'd go on a run for 5 or 6 games where we put together like really nice performances, win every game pretty much. Like offense wins games, like no matter what we say about the defense. But I think lately, since the All-Star break, it's just been, and even before that, this run we put together in July, it's been so consistent regardless. I mean, we obviously got blanked last night, but again, fight at the end with Turner with that big hit.
Yeah.
Like we saw fight from them. They didn't lie down at the end, which I think is a big deal.
Yeah, and I mean,
great offenses.
And I mean, even like early in the season too, like the second game of the season, I mean, Yoshida hits that pop-up, we think game over. Orioles drop it.
Yeah.
Duvall hits that walk-off home run. Like, they've shown literally from the beginning of the season that this team has fight.
We have it.
And, like, it might not we might not get the win every single time, but, I mean, the team certainly has fight, and they're not gonna go out without putting up that fight. I mean, I think that last night was a perfect example. We were down to the last inning, got 2 runners on in scoring position. Justin Turner brings them in to tie the game. Obviously, Kenley, we've seen it in non-save situations. He hasn't been the best, unfortunately. Yeah. And we lost that game. But still, like, I think a lot of people thought that game was it was going to be a 1-2-3 inning, game over, Giants win. And, the Red Sox put up that fight to kind of make it a whole new ballgame.
Against one of the best closures in the league.
Yeah.
Maybe the best one.
Yeah, exactly.
Overall, so.
Exactly. So, I mean, they've shown from the beginning, like, they have fight. And like I said, once we figure out the starting pitching situation, and now don't forget too, Trevor Story's coming back.
Chris Sale's
coming back. Garrett Whitlock's coming back. Tanner Houck's coming back. It's like we have pieces coming back.
Lining up perfectly for us right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And swing a trade or two, like I think we just go from that point.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited. This is a great time to be a Sox fan.
Yeah,
honestly,
I agree. We're writing it right now, and I think again, I talked about it. Some comments on the last post, not last post, but a few posts ago, talking with some people like. Reminiscent of like the 2013 team where, again, we were the last place the year before, but just got hot at the right time. Obviously, we were way better, won 97 games, but like the talent wasn't like, oh my God, it didn't wow you at all, right? With 2013, it was more so we just got hot at the right time, like dog days of summer, like we are now in July. We're trending the right way. So I think that's, and again, we talk about like, the Nationals of 2019, right? Like below 500 for a good portion of like the first half, and then they just took off. I think that's kind of like what we're seeing here a little bit. Hopefully.
Exactly.
Best case scenario.
And I mean, I'm not saying we win the World Series. Obviously, it'd be great too, but it's like, don't forget, a lot of people going into the season had the Red Sox kind of like pinned. Yeah, literally at the bottom. Kind of, they put us in like the same kind of like comparison as like the Oakland A's, the Kansas City Royals, the Tigers, like a rebuild. I wouldn't say rebuild, but like a last place team, especially with how competitive the AL East has been this year. And they're defying the expectations. So I mean, even just making the playoffs, getting that wild card spot, especially where like people had us pinned at the beginning of the season, like that in and of itself is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Like Yankees were supposed to win the division. How are they in last place?
Yeah.
Like, think about it.
It's been a rough year for them for sure. So yeah, to answer that question, sorry to my girlfriend, but I mean, come on. What did you think we were going to say about that?
This is a Red Sox podcast. Like, come on.
All right, I like this one a lot right here, and I'm a huge Alex Cora fan. Alex Cora is a top 5 manager in baseball. Now that's a big one. I think off the bat, a lot of people would say, "What are you talking about? Like, that's awful." But
yeah.
I mean, okay, so we do have a lot of candidates here. I think Brian Snitker of Atlanta. Obviously, Atlanta, set up from the beginning of the year is going to be probably the best team in the National League, but still, they're on pace for 104 wins. He's really gotten the most out of that group, I think. Again, we have Acuna like leading the charge, but like he's put that team together really nicely. Brendan Hyde of Baltimore. Baltimore last season 83 wins, 4th in the AL East. Again, like the young fun Orioles, like they were coming up like okay, like they might have a shot, but like no, they are the second best team in baseball, the best one in the American League right now in terms of record. And this season, 1st in the AL East, on pace for 98 wins. Bruce Bochy with Texas last season, 94 losses, and this season they're a top 3 team in the American League. That's big. I don't think anyone saw that coming.
No,
I didn't see it coming from the Rangers.
Because, I mean, they made all those big signings and whatnot, but, like, I didn't know, because, you know, Simeon had a down year, Seager was kind of injured, so it was like, I just didn't think it was going to be, like, as soon as it's been.
Right, and I would not have guessed that it would have been without DeGrom.
Oh, yeah, and it's like, they literally...
Baldy's really coming to his own there.
Yeah, Cy Young candidate there. They just traded for Max Scherzer, like...
That's
and
a big
it's
one.
like...
That's a big one.
Like, I would have never guessed that the Texas Rangers... Like, I knew I thought in a few years, like, they would start kind of, like, putting it all together. I did not think it was going to come together as soon as it's been.
Yeah, I think Bochy is definitely top 5, regardless. I mean, obviously what he did with the Giants in that early 2010s. He's definitely top 5.
I mean, 3 World Series in what, 5, 6 seasons? 2010, 2012, 2014.
Yeah,
like, I mean, that's an impressive. That's
years.
Impressive. Yeah.
Even years.
Like, honestly, and then the Giants, like, made it in 2016 in the playoffs. I'm like, okay, I guess they're going to win it again. Even years. And then, obviously, the Cubs broke the Billy Goat curse and whatnot. But,
Theo.
Love Theo. We love Theo.
Another one here, David Bell of Cincinnati. They're 57-49 right now. Going off a big charge in June, July. Ever since Ellie's been called up, 18-9 in June, 13-11 in July. Turning their season around, they were pretty bad early on, and now they're a legit contender in the National League. So that's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, like, they always had a top farm system over the past few years. Like, they were developing that farm system after, I think it was like 2013 was the last time they made the playoffs. So, I mean, little by little, they've been kind of developing that farm system, trying to put in the pieces together, kind of sell off veterans to acquire those pieces, and, you know, that it's finally paying off. I mean, like, Ellie De La Cruz, like, once he got called up, just that spark, that energy that he's been able to bring to that Cincinnati ball club, I mean, it's been incredible.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like he kind of just brought that energy, and, you know, everybody else in the lineup, everyone in the rotation kind of just followed that.
All their rookies, dude. Like, McClain, like, they're so young and fun, and I think they're up there with the Marlins. I think if they get in, watch out, dude. If they get in the playoffs, watch out, because they're fun.
That's a perfect team where it's like, you know, get hot at the right time. Like, Cincinnati is like the perfect definition of that. Like, they don't, like, you look at that roster, right, and you don't think, like, it doesn't wow you per se, but it's like you said.
A little B on your hat there?
Oh, a little B? Oh, you got that? Oh.
See you later.
We'll put that in the bloopers.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good clip. Torey Lovullo, obviously
former Sox
Red Sox
coach.
coach. Arizona Diamondbacks, man, they've been fun. And again, Skip Schumacher of Miami Marlins, just 2 National League teams that didn't really. I don't think anyone saw that coming. Maybe Miami, but like Arizona, kind of coming out of nowhere.
I was going to say the opposite. I thought Miami, I wouldn't have guessed. I mean, Arizona, like, they made they swung some deals to kind of get some veterans and whatnot. Obviously, you know, they've been rebuilding for a little while, especially after that Goldschmidt deal. Like, we knew kind of, like, what direction they were heading in. But, I mean, like, Corbin Carroll, like, not only has he been one of the best rookies in baseball, like, he might be an MVP candidate.
Definitely candidate.
Like, he's up there with, like, Mookie Betts and Ronald Acuna Jr. in the NL to potentially win the award.
I think Acuna's running away with it, but definitely I think he probably gets a lot of first. I think he gets some second first base votes for sure. Carroll does.
Yeah, and to even get considered in your rookie year in and of itself, that's incredible. Like,
no one's set up better for another team that, like, for the next 3-4 years of control over these young players. I think Arizona's super fun. I'm excited to see what they do the next few years.
Yeah. So,
sure.
With that being said, so what would you say about Cora? Because being a top 5, I mean, he's obviously 2018 probably had the best season in all the 21st century so far.
Franchise record for wins, I believe.
Franchise.
That says something, I believe. And again, the 2021 run. I think with all the moving parts that we've had, you know, obviously Mookie and Bogart's leaving, Eovaldi, some really not fun trades like Vasquez leaving. I think he's done a nice job given all the moving parts and all the, like, people coming for his head. Like, he's on the hot seat right now, I'd say, in terms of like people calling for his head in terms of, like, if we miss the playoffs, is Cora done? And he's really, I think he's done a nice job. I'll go on a limb and say that. I don't think a lot of people like him, but I will say that he's done a nice job.
Yeah, and you have to look at the situation too. You know, I mean, ever since that 2018 season where, you know, he had all the pieces, and we saw what he did. He set a franchise record for wins in a single season, and they won the World Series. But I mean, after that season, you know, like, slowly but surely, like, all those, like, core pieces have made their way out of Boston. And, you know, I mean, you've had a lot of revolving veterans on 1 or 2 year deals kind of coming in and out of playing for the Red Sox. And, you know, for what it's worth, I mean, Cora has done really well in those situations. Obviously, there's been seasons where the Red Sox have been expected to not do well. 2020 and 2022 kind of come to mind for that.
Right.
But, I mean, 2021, nobody thought we were going to make the playoffs then, and we made
I didn't think
we were
so.
and we were 2 games away from making the World Series. And look at 2023 so far. I mean, we're in contention for a playoff spot. We could very well end up in the wild card. So I mean, and he's definitely made a couple of questionable choices every now and then with the bullpen and whatnot. But no manager is perfect. There's a lot of managers out there that have done far worse than he has. And I mean, for what it's worth, with the kind of situation that he's been put in, like Cora has taken Red Sox teams and made them playoff contenders.
I think he's top 10. I think he's top 10. Maybe not top 5, but I think he's definitely top 10.
Definitely top 10. No
last
question.
few years, yeah.
He's defied expectations time and time again. He's proven that this year, and he's proved it in 2021. So I mean,
why not?
Yeah, he's got to be top 10 at this point.
That's my manager right there. I love Corey.
That's my manager.
This was before Kike was traded, but I'd be happy if Kike was never in the lineup again. I mean, that's a tough one. I can see it. I mean, obviously, utility is a plus. The bat is not. The thing that does it for me is the 279 on base and the most errors in Major League Baseball as a shortstop. At the time, I believe he was number 1 for a while at shortstop. 3 times as many strikeouts as walks. Obviously not the best bat. The utility is a plus. Obviously, fan favorite, like Kike was the man for so long. I think it was the right move, but I don't know. I never found myself saying, like, I'd be happy if he was never there. I think he does bring a lot of value, and he's doing it right now with the Dodgers for sure.
Oh, yeah. And, like, you also have to look at the situation, right? Like, Kike was supposed to come into 2023 being the everyday center fielder. Obviously, last year dealt with some injuries. And, like, this year he was supposed to be the starting center fielder. And then, Bogarts leaves. Trevor Story gets hurt. Mondesi, who hasn't even played at all this year, like, he was supposed to... we don't know if or when he's going to ever suit up for us.
Yeah, that's
kind of
what I forgot about.
Yeah, so it's like... Kike was not supposed to come into this season being the everyday shortstop.
He's not a shortstop.
He's not. He had a handful of innings there, and that was it. And it's like they basically put him in that position kind of, unexpectedly. And, I mean, he's not a shortstop. Obviously, he has the most errors in baseball. But, like, we have to look at the situation, too. Like, when he was in the outfield, like, he was in 2021, when they moved to center field, he was one of the best hitters in baseball. Obviously, I think he had a top 10 playoff run of all time. Like,
yeah, I think he's got some good years left. Definitely, I think him being in LA, I almost said Brooklyn for some reason. LA, I think that's a good spot for him to kind of flourish. I definitely think he has some good years left. I just don't think it was with us. But I mean, like you said, like if we don't have Duran doing what he's doing right now, I think Kike in center field. I also thought he had better at bats when he was in center field. I think that's a big thing people don't realize is like. Why should it matter, what position you're playing? When you're hitting, you're not in the field, but like it's a big deal. I think when you're playing somewhere you're very comfortable and at home, I think it has a lot of impact on what you're doing with the bat, for sure.
I agree. Yeah, like you said, he hit his best when he was playing center field, and obviously was playing lockdown defense there, and obviously the circumstance last year in 2022, dealt with some injuries. Wasn't playing up to 100%, but then, kind of put himself in unfamiliar territory this year. Playing shortstop, obviously not living up to the expectations set. But, I mean, they did what the Red Sox asked him to do, and he was doing what the Red Sox, asked him to do. And, I mean, let's not forget, too, beyond the box score, beyond the stats that he puts up, he's been an exceptional leader for that ball club, especially in 2021.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
When they lost, Mookie Betts and all that, him and Xander, those were, 2 of the biggest, vocal leaders for that Red Sox team, and he's been a leader for the past 3 seasons that we had.
And very much respected by Cora. That's why you saw him in the lineup so much. It's just, and I think the approach is the guy's just a real ball of energy. He's definitely got talent. He has the skills. So obviously, and we've seen it in 2021 in the playoffs. Dude turned into Babe Ruth for no reason, but he has the tools. I think he definitely has some good years left. I think.
Yeah, and I think he's going back to LA, which I think he would consider that's his home. He's been there he played there from 2015 to 2020 before getting traded back.
He said, "I'm back home."
Yeah, he literally said, "I'm back home," and I think being back in familiar territory, kind of knowing exactly what his role is going to be going forward. Because he played a little bit of short, started off as short, played a little bit of second, moved to the outfield,
always
just
moving
never
around. Never
exactly.
had a defined role.
Exactly, and I think having that consistency back in his home in LA, I think. He's going to do well, I think, just the situation, there just wasn't a fit for him, obviously wasn't getting the job done.
A lot of guys coming back, Story coming back,
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was just one of those things where it was it was just the right time to move on. There's no knock on Kike. Obviously, he did great things for us in a Boston uniform, but I think it was just the right time to move on, plain and simple.
Definitely. I like this one a lot. Devers hits bombs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, is that even how's that a hot take?
I know.
That shouldn't be.
Yeah, right? 26 years old, 164 career home runs. His 162 game average, 34 home runs, 43 doubles, and 109 RBIs. slashing 280, 340 on base, 512 slugging, 852 OPS. Generational talent, obviously, and we knew this coming in. He's got a lot of hate, not hate, I would say, but like just people like, hey, he's kind of having a down year, and it's like he's not. He's going to hit 40 homers with 120 RBIs easily.
Oh yeah,
he's on pace for more than that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, I think obviously he might have been an all-star snub. I think he should have made it. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Right.
But I mean, literally, he comes back like in that first game against Chicago, hits 2 home runs. I mean,
he's been hot lately too. He's batting over 350 since the All-Star break, I believe, is what I saw last night. So
yeah, and I mean, 25. He's got 25 home runs, 76 RBIs. You know, he's in the top categories for offensive stats for third baseman.
Drives
so,
runs.
Yeah, I believe he's leading the league all third basemen in home runs and RBIs, if I'm not mistaken. Has an 845 OPS, hitting an OPS plus of 122, so 22% better than the average MLB hitter. So I mean,
it's no joke.
And you know,
whatsoever.
I mean, defensively, I think I saw it was -6 defensive runs saved. So I mean, the defense could be better. For
we
sure.
knew that though.
But I mean, still, like, there's been years where it was like he was the worst defensive third baseman. This year, you know, he's slightly below average, and I mean, but still, slightly below average defensive third baseman. Obviously hitting bombs. Like, I mean, and like you said, generational talent. Have him locked up for the next 10 years. I mean, like this is the cornerstone.
Love him or hate him,
next,
he's here.
Yeah, he's the cornerstone for the next 10 years of Red Sox baseball.
Definitely. Love Devers so much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. No offense to you, man, but like that was not a hot take. We just all knew this. Devers hits bombs, man.
Shout out Ohio Red Sox. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. The Red Sox will win multiple World Series titles under Bloom. This is a legit hot take, I think. It's a good one.
Yeah.
I think we're set up for success with the young talent we've got. Obviously, the outfield, Yoshida, Duran, Verdugo, and a guy I like a lot, Ceddanne Rafael, number 2 Red Sox prospect. Really solid. He's the guy who we kind of compare to Mookie Betts with his swing. Like, he's just obviously really good power, good speed. He's doing it right now with Worcester. I think he could be called up in September, possibly.
Oh, he definitely will.
With what he's doing. And then, obviously, the infield, Devers' story with the obviously, Marcelo Meyer, he's here. He'll be up soon. And Casas at first base. And newly acquired Kyle Teal. Legit catcher, best catcher in the draft, steal of a pick. So I think I like that a lot. I'm not sure what Bloom's contract is.
I'm not sure either, to be honest.
But I think definitely that we are set up for success. I think in the American League, specifically the East, I think we're up there with the Rays and Orioles. Obviously, maybe not the best, but like we have the tools in place. Obviously, Bale leading the staff. Brian Bale. I think we're set up for success for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, they recently just re-ranked the farm systems in all baseball. Red Sox are ranked number 5. I mean, they have 5 prospects in the top 100. Marcelo Meyer, Rafaela, Nick York, Ramon Anthony.
I like Nick York a lot.
And also Ramon Anthony. That was a name that kind of just made the spotlight this year. So, I mean, they literally have set themselves up for success going forward. You know, and they want to get to a point where it's like, and Bloom said this, where it's like almost like the Dodgers, where it's like
just a funnel for prospects.
Exactly, and it's like if you want to swing a big deal, like they have the ability to like trade off prospects, but still have a strong farm system after this deal, and that's what the Red Sox are trying to build up right now. Get young guys in that corner that could be cornerstone guys for the future. And, you know, I think in some ways they could follow the Braves model, where it's like, you know, Braves, like, we've seen this. They'll sign guys to a long-term 7, 8, 9-year deal that in the long term is kind of, like, undervalued for kind of their, at the time it's a lot of money because they're a rookie, but it's like.
They overperform. They pay guys for what they're about to do, not what they've already done. Exactly. Which I think the Red Sox can learn from because obviously we've seen, like we talked about with the Price deal, paying guys who are 30, like dishing out these big contracts. I think I agree the Braves model could be something that we do with these guys like Meyer, York, Rafaela, Duran. Like I think these are guys who, and Verdugo as well. Obviously not doing the greatest right now, but those are guys that we could lock up for sure for pretty cheap.
Yeah,
given their age. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think following those two systems, like if Chaim can continue doing what he set out to do and can continue doing this correctly, like I think without question, they're gonna. It was one of those things where it's almost like, with the set, like a Philadelphia 76ers, like trust the process, It was painful at first, he comes in and the first thing he does is literally trade Mookie Betts. Yeah. We all thought was going to be a Boston Red Sox for life. I'm sure he got some death threats, dude. Like, had to,
Had to get some death threats.
I mean, that was up there with like the Nomar Garcia-Parra trade, like trade a franchise icon. Mm-hmm. And like, I think, he started off kind of with that kind of reputation. But I think, slowly but surely, like, he's kind of living up to what he envisioned for the future.
And again, a guy who is under that Rays kind of bubble of like young guys who just know what the hell they're doing up there. I think he's really smart. I think the deals that he made in the offseason with Kenley Jansen, Justin Turner, Chris Martin, that's starting to show with the team that we have. Like, we have a shot, and these guys are, Justin Turner, I could go on for hours about Justin Turner. Again, I got a big video coming with him. Like, he's just, if I were to say like he's my favorite player, I think I would. Like, he's the anchor for our offense right now. Just so consistent. Obviously the clutch factor, just big hit after big hit. This guy's legit.
Yeah, so. And like we have to think about that too with the names you just mentioned. Like, when we first signed those guys, like nobody thought. Yeah, it's like, what are we doing? Fire Chaim. Like, do this, do that. Like, Chaim knows how to seek out talent. He looks for these factors that I feel like not a lot of general managers look for when signing these guys. So he's able to get guys for way less of market value and be able to get so much production out of them. I mean, like, we didn't break the budget to get Justin Turner and Kenley Jansen and Chris Martin.
And they've been overperforming their price value.
Exactly. And I think that's something that, I think even for me personally as a Sox fan, like, I've overlooked that. Like, obviously there's been a couple missed deals that Chaim has, but that's the deal with every single general manager in baseball. There's going to be some deals that work out and there are some that won't. But I mean, with these three guys where everyone thought they were not going to make an impact for this Red Sox team going forward, and all three of them ended up playing pivotal roles this season. So I mean, it just goes to show, Chaim has that nick for talent, and he knows what to look for. And I think if he can continue what he's doing, like, I think the sky's the limit for what we can see for the Red Sox. If he turns to the Dodgers and win an AL East title, like, for the next 10 to 15 years, if he continues doing what he's doing.
I'm reading How to Beat a Broken Game. It's a book about the Dodgers kind of regime, and talking about like Chaim Bloom over with the Rays and Andrew Friedman, who went from the Rays to the Dodgers as a GM, as a young guy, and kind of how they've redesigned, just like how front offices do things that no one. It's kind of like we're nearing the end of guys who get big deals when they're 29, 30 years old. Like, they're starting to see the value of like you said, like what the Braves are doing. The Braves model of like the Michael Harris deals, like guys, we're paying guys before they do. Paying guys for what they're about to do, not what they've already done. And I think definitely the Red Sox are kind of starting to move towards that, and it's exciting. I think that's why I would agree with that hot take of we're going to win multiple World Series. Maybe the hot take part of it is like we're not going to win multiple World Series, but like I think we'll be a legit contender for the next 5-6 years, depending on who we lock up.
Exactly, and I mean, Dodgers I think they started that run in like 2013. They didn't win the World Series till 2020. I think, but still, they were.
That was their first World Series since like the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like we talk about like how the Dodgers are like the almighty powerful Dodgers, but it's like, think about it, they only won one World Series in that entire stretch of winning those division titles. Right. So I mean,
they want some rings.
They definitely want rings, but I mean, like I said, I think just having that consistent team where it's like they're going to make the playoffs. Right. You might not win it every year, but it's like you're at least going to the playoffs.
That's what you're after.
That's what you want. That's exactly
consistent success. Obviously the rings, but like,
you want the rings, but if you're able to at least put yourself in a position to potentially win a ring every single year, like that's what you want from a baseball team, and that's what the Red Sox are trying to do.
Yeah, I think the only issue being the division we play in. Obviously, you talked about the expansion teams, how that might be changing, but I think the new wild card, the 3-team wild card with the 3-game series, that kind of like play-in type vibe is really helpful for us, because like the 1-game knockout definitely would not have been it for these next couple of years. Like, that would have led for some frustration with the 1-game knockout.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, it's like you work this hard to make it to one do-or-die game, and if you lose that game, it's like it's basically all for nothing at that point. It's basically game 163 for you.
I got a hot take of my own, because we're done with the viewer ones, but
yeah.
I mean, I know you got some as well. I kind of just thought of this. I think the Rob Manfred changes, at first I was like, what are we doing? But watching the game now and kind of just like observing it from a fan perspective, I'm on board. And he just got a big extension, obviously, but I'm with it. Like, I'm with the rule changes. I think it's going to be good for baseball.
Yeah, I mean, for me it was.
It's a hot take, I know.
No, but like, I think for me, like, I was one of those fans, where it's like obviously people complain about how long it takes to like go finish a baseball game, but like for me, it's like,
that doesn't matter,
and for you too. Yeah, it's like. The game could go 5 hours. I'm literally sitting there from first pitch to the final out. Like, I want to see baseball. But, we're living in a new time where it's like, kind of attention spans are kind of starting to kind of get slower.
Oh, so bad.
Yeah, it's bad now. And you kind of have to go with the times now, and baseball's definitely doing that. Like, with the pitch clock and having all these different rules. But, I mean, like you said, I think slowly but surely, it's going to be a part of everyday game, and
it's got to accept it for what it is.
Yeah, and like even expanding like the bigger the bases figure, like Ronald Acuna just stole 50 stolen bases.
Awesome.
Like,
I think for the game it's good.
Like we're seeing aspects of small ball. We're seeing the bunt more. We're seeing the hit and run. We're seeing the suicide squeeze. Like, we're seeing things that a lot of high school, a lot of college teams do, but like we don't really see it at major league level. We just see try to hit the crap out of the ball every single time. But I miss that kind of like exciting factor, and I think Manfred's rule changes have been able to kind of like add that. Not just obviously you still have the long ball, but you also have the small ball factor as well. And I think having both of them in today's game, like, that's going to bode us so well as fans for years to come. So.
What you got? What's your hot take?
My hot takes. That Casas one is the one that I was sitting on. I think he could make a run for the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
I think we could make it. I don't know. I think the Red Sox will either this offseason or next offseason. They're going to sign a major free agent. I think the plan that I've been seeing, that I've been reading up on a lot, was this was supposed to be a 5-year plan. So it's supposed to go from 2020 to 2024, draft a bunch of guys, sign these veterans to 1 or 2 year guys, or 1 or 2 year deals, and like kind of just run that route. We made the playoffs great.
We're on the way.
We're definitely on the way.
I think I probably had a schedule. I don't think anyone saw, being a contender this year.
Yeah, and I think. And also, too, I think we're going to see, I think in 2024, we'll see Rafael, we'll see Marcelo Mayer, we'll see Nick York get all called up to the Major League. Maybe even Blaze Jordan, too. People forget about him. He's good. Like, he just got recently called up to AA. Yeah. Had a monster year in A advance with Greenville. So, I mean.
Yeah, no, he's good.
So, I mean, like, we definitely have a lot of young talent coming up. And I think now is the time where it's like Chaim can finally start going out and locking up, like, possibly, like, superstar guys. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying, like, a 10, 11-year deal, because we've seen it doesn't work. We've seen it in the past with guys like David Price and Carl Crawford and Pablo Sandoval. Like, we're finally in a position, with kind of where the season is, because here's the thing. Chaim had this plan, I think, of, like, a 5-year plan. We're going to rebuild. We trade Mookie, and then we rebuild from, like, 2020 to, like, 2024, and we start kind of getting back into contention in 2025. Obviously, we might be well ahead of schedule with, 2023. We're in playoff contention. Next year, I think we're going to see guys like Meyer and Nick New York and Rafael.
It's going to be a big year.
And like I said before, Blaze Jordan could potentially be a sleeper as well. Like, we have young guys that could possibly make their major league debuts next year. So, like, we're definitely well ahead of schedule. But I think, Devers definitely, like, the cornerstone guy. But I think, I don't think he can do it alone. I think we're going to sign, like, a big free agent, I think, either this offseason or next offseason. Like, we've kind of fallen kind of off that. Obviously, before, it was, like, one of those things where it was, like, the Red Sox used to, every offseason, get a well-known name through free agency or through trade. And obviously, like, the last few years under Bloom, like, we haven't really seen that. But I would say outside of, like, Trevor Story, that was probably, like, the last, like, big name guy that we got. Mm-hmm. But, like, I don't know. There's a couple of guys, like, Ohtani's going to be a free agent after this year. I think Juan Soto's a free agent after, I think, next year.
Give me both of them.
Like,
give me both of them.
And here's the thing, like, people say, like, oh, Ohtani to the Red Sox won't happen. I'm not saying it definitely will, but, like, think about this. Like, you have Yoshida on that team. They played on the World Baseball Classic team, winning team together in Japan. Like, they've been friends for a while, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, the Red Sox are a big market team. I think at this point in Ohtani's career, like, that's what he wants to go for. He wants to go for a big market team. And the Red Sox definitely fall under that category. Yes. And, like, if you think about all of those factors, like, he could definitely be someone that, we could potentially go after. And even, too, like, a guy like Juan Soto. Like, think about it. Like, why hasn't Alex Verdugo been signed to an extension? Like, do the Red Sox not view him as a long-term piece? Do you think that they might try to go after a bigger name, and we just have no idea, and that's why we're not going after a guy like extending Verdugo?
I could see, to kind of add on to that, like, the hot takes thing, I could see, like, a hot take of, like, Verdugo gets traded, because, like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that would kind of cause some turmoil, because it's like, dude, then what do we have left from the Mookie Betts to, like,
Connor Wong?
Like,
that's it.
That's pretty much
like, Jeter
it.
Downs was a failure. We DFA'd him, got literally nothing back from him. we trade Verdugo. The only team I have seen him linked to was the Houston Astros. I have not seen him linked anywhere else. And it's been kind of quiet the last few weeks. Obviously, it's because, the Red Sox have been doing better and we're kind of more buyers than sellers now at this point. And I said it before, too. Like, the Kike deal had to happen because, like, that wasn't necessarily us selling. That was more so, in the
clearing space.
Yeah, clearing space. He wasn't going to fit there any longer with, his production and other guys like Pablo Reyes and Trevor Story coming back. So, like, it just wasn't going to work out. That was not selling. That was more, we just had to get rid of that, try to build a farm system. But, like, seriously, like, if you think about it, like, I thought for sure, like, Verdugo was going to get extended, especially, like, after, obviously, he's been slumping the last few weeks, but, like,
I'm with you on that.
That first half, like, he could have been an all-star.
He should have been.
He should have been, yeah. And it's like, they still haven't extended him, but, like,
too, like,
why?
He's very good
It's like, why haven't they extended him? And it's like, you have to think, like, do the Red Sox have a long-term plan, potentially getting a guy to replace him, like, a bit well-known name, and we just have absolutely no idea. And that's why I think this hot take thing kind of comes into play. Like, obviously, Devers is going to man third base. Casas is going to be there. Duran's going to be there. And also these young guys that are kind of coming up slowly but surely. But, like, if you really think about it, like, could they be waiting in the wings to get, like, a big-name guy? We just have absolutely no idea.
I could see Soto happening for sure. With, like, obviously the field, the power to all fields, not the greatest defender, but I mean, we've done it with Yoshida. Obviously, he's not the greatest defender in left. Like, he's okay, but not someone that you're going to stick out there every day. We've kind of been him, Ref Snyder, Duran in left field. I think, I don't know. I don't know how on board I am with Soto, but obviously, like, the bat is something that's, like, generational. It's up there with, like, I can imagine having Devers and Soto in the same lineup, just like the lefty power, like, obviously the discipline.
Yeah, like, think about this. Like, I mean, Devers is not really as disciplined of a hitter. Obviously, Soto is. So it's like one of those things where it's like you have Soto batting ahead of Devers. Yeah. He finds a way on base through a hit. Like, he'll take his walks. Like, we've seen that. He's led the league in walks numerous times.
I could see flip side Soto protecting Devers.
That could
being like, you're going to go after Devers because Soto could draw a walk. Like, like, I think there's a lot you could do with that, and I think
that would be great.
I could see it. I've seen them. We've seen them utilize the DH spot with the outfielders, and obviously Turner. But I think when Turner's gone, you could see someone like that who maybe isn't the greatest defender, but you can find a way to make it work with the guys we have in the outfield. He'll see some time out there, obviously, but, like, he won't be our everyday guy.
And that's another thing, too.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. Like, obviously, Justin Turner, Chris Martin, Kenley, they've been outstanding this year. But obviously, they only signed 1 to 2 year deals. Turner has a player option for next year.
38.
And he's already 38. Kenley and Chris Martin, I think they're free agents, not this year, next year. But, I mean, still, like, these are 1 to 2 year guys. They're going to be free agents. Like, realistically, I don't know if they're necessarily part of our long-term plans. They're obviously in their mid to late 30s at this point. So it's like, that's another factor too.
Yeah.
Like, we're signing a bunch of these guys to 1 to 2 year deals. And I'm not saying we go out and sign a 10-year, $300-something million deal to, like, a player. We've seen how that's worked, especially this past offseason where, like, what was it, Xander and Trey Turner, they both got 10-plus years.
Yeah,
and
it's a big commitment.
And, like, this is the first year, and they've been dropping the ball, plain and simple. And it's like, so, like, I think, like, that 5 to 7 year window, like, get a deal done, maybe get a deal done in that kind of range. Like, I could totally see, with a lot of these veterans being 1 to 2 year deals, they're going to be free agents. They're kind of on the older side. Like, I don't know if they're necessarily part of the long-term plans. When you put all that stuff together, I really do believe that the Red Sox have a plan of going after, like, these big-name guys, and we just have no idea. I really do believe that.
I'm with it for sure. All right, that's all we got from Hot Takes here in Orleans, Mass. Again, the view is immaculate. I would recommend it for anyone that wants to come down to the Cape. Definitely come here. It is an awesome spot, some great beaches. We're gonna catch some Cape Cod League baseball down here.
Oh yeah.
You know what teams are going to see? What game?
I think we're going to. Harwich is the closest. So Harwich Mariners. I think probably is the closest game that we can catch. So probably go there.
So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely we'll post some clips and keep it up. You guys are doing awesome. All right, that's all I got.
Thank you guys. Thank you.